Hello, viewer. Welcome to the Voorhees Now. I'm Colin Greco.
I'm Joe Lebida.
I'm Andrew Navarro.
I'm some weird kid.
And the Voorhees Now starts now.
Yay.
For this episode of Voorhees Now, we've got Brielle and her grandparents with their 54th Valentine's Day.
How does it feel to have been married for over 50 years?
Wonderful. Absolutely spectacular. And she's so charming.
I met my husband at Fox Lake, Wisconsin.
Which is a small lake community about 90 miles from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Where I would spend the summers in my grandma's lake house.
I took a job for the summer working at a resort called the Fish and Fun.
We used to go there to eat all the time. So it was very nice knowing the cook.
That's where I fell in love with her.
My grandparents have spent every Valentine's Day together for 53 years. They feel they are truly blessed.
It's been a long road, sometimes very easy, sometimes very hard, but always willing to compromise, and 50-50 was the way to go. And out of it, we've had 2 wonderful sons and 3 beautiful grandchildren, and you can't ask more from life than that.
Here, here.
And this is Heidi, and after your children are gone, but still in your life, this is what brings us a lot of joy.
Every day, she puts a smile on your face. Married 51 years, and I look forward to spending a lot more years with my bride. We're grateful and for our understanding and for the life we have enjoyed together.
Ditto.
From VHSTV, I'm Brielle wishing you a happy Valentine's Day.
I met my wife on the golf course. I was smitten by a really sweet swing.
I met my wife during my second year here. She was coaching basketball with Mr. Cook, and she actually was student teaching in the social studies department. Come to find out, she was actually dating someone, actually living with someone. And I think one night after a game, we went out and got dinner. I guess that pretty much kind of ended the relationship she had at the time. So from there, it just kind of steamrolled, and little silly notes and stuff leaving on each other's desks. So I don't really know what type of game I had, other than the fact that I just happened to be there. So
I worked with his sister, and I was throwing a party, and she couldn't go to the party unless she had a chaperone. So her mother insisted her brother, Ishmael, come up from Florida to chaperone his sister at my party. We met, his mother cried, and 7 years later I realized I'd made the worst mistake of my life, and I divorced him.
With Valentine's Day coming around the corner, I thought it would be interesting to take a look at how other cultures and countries celebrate their version of the Day of Love. In China, Valentine's Day is called the Double Seventh Festival, or the Shishi Festival. It's celebrated on the 7th day of the 7th month of the Chinese lunar calendar, so this year it will be celebrated on August 17th. It comes from an ancient legend about an ox herder and a weaver girl from the Han Dynasty. Old customs in the rural areas of China include girls praying to Xinu, the weaver girl from the legend, for better sewing skills. They also pray for love to find them. Also, children will gather flowers and hang them on the horns of oxen to celebrate the ox herder. In the cities, people have taken to celebrating in a more Western way. They'll give flowers and chocolate and other thoughtful presents to their loved ones, but they also carry down the legend to the next generation, preserving it throughout time. In the Philippines, Valentine's Day is celebrated with thousands of weddings all together. People gather to get married or renew their vows in public places such as malls and parks. In Brazil, the Dia dos Namorados, which means Lover's Day, is celebrated on June 12th, a day before St. Anthony's Day. St. Anthony is known as the marriage saint there, so it's clear to see why the 12th was picked as a day to celebrate love. Traditionally, single women perform popular rituals called simpatias in order to find a good husband or boyfriend. Couples exchange gifts, chocolates, cards, and flower bouquets. It's not celebrated on February 14th because that falls too close to the famous Brazilian carnival. Lastly, in Ireland, some people make a pilgrimage to the shrine of St. Valentine in the Whitefriar Street Carmelite Church in Dublin, which has relics of St. Valentine of Rome. Those who pray at the shrine do so in hopes of finding romance. Valentine's Day has a significant meaning to many cultures around the world, no matter how or when they celebrate it. All that matters is recognizing the love in your life and appreciating it. For Voorhees Now, I'm Joe Lebida. Have a happy Valentine's Day, no matter how you celebrate.
Got the hots on for old cars? Well, let's check out Bret with this unreal story.
Everybody has something special that they hold on to, whether it's a stuffed animal, a video game console, or even a Lego set. Everybody has that one thing that they have some sentimental value or attachment to. This winter, I was fortunate enough to speak with the owner of a 1961 Chevy Impala and his mindset for keeping the old relic.
I bought the car November 29, 1976, when I was 16 years old, and I bought it from my grandmother. And she had to sell the car because she had a heart condition, and her doctor told her that this car was just too hard to drive. And sure enough, it's really hard to steer. It doesn't have any power steering, no power brakes, and so you really have to manhandle the car. My wife can't even drive it. She purchased it after it was about a year old, and I have the receipt. I have her receipt in the glove box. So she bought it from a guy, W.C. Nelson, and that was in that was in 62.
Okay, so your grandma bought it in 62.
My grandmother bought it in 62. So I grew up in Dallas. Then I went down to Houston to go to college at Rice University. You know, I met my wife down there and actually proposed to her in the car in the front seat. That was back in 1982. Why did I keep the car? Okay, so I have a strong emotional attachment to the car. Yeah. That's for sure. So my grandmother sold it to me. She told me to take good care of it. And so that was kind of the first reason I decided to keep it. I wanted to keep my promise to my grandmother. She passed away in the mid-'80s. And, you know, the car, it was my first car. When my wife and I started dating, she really liked this car. So it was kind of one of the things that brought her to me. So my daughter is pretty artistic, pretty good with Photoshop. And so I suggested to her that we take one of my old photographs of when I was 16 and bought the car and kind of superimpose on that a newer photograph of the car with me kind of facing myself. We've got this photograph of me leaning against the car when I was 16 and me on the other side when I was about must be 55. It's hard to untangle things like that, to say what life would be like without the car, but certainly my life is richer with the car. When I get in the car, I have all these memories come back. I feel, 16 again. It has a great effect on me. It's very relaxing. Mm-hmm. I guess you could say that if the car had never entered my life, well, maybe my wife and I wouldn't be together right now. Who knows? Yeah. She certainly liked the fact that I was driving this old car when I picked her up on our first date. Eventually decided to get it restored, and so in 2000 we restored it, and it's been a part of my life since I was 16.
The relationship between Tom and his car demonstrates what sentimental value really means. Ironically, Tom owns 2 Priuses along with the old classic.
At this point, there's just no way I'm going to get rid of it.
And now, here's Ethan with the Weekly Grind.
Hey, what's up, Voorhees? I'm Ethan Blake, and here's your latest for the Weekly Grind. The North Voorhees District is hosting the next session of the Community Health and Wellness Program on Thursday, February 15th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. in the Voorhees cafeteria. That session will focus on opiates, marijuana extractions, and underage drinking. Any parent who attends this adults-only presentation will have their child entered into a raffle where they could win a yearbook, parking permit, prom tickets, or an Amazon gift card. You can get more info by clicking the link below. Now let's check out this Week in History produced by Greg Taylor.
On February 9th, 1861, Jefferson Davis was elected as the President of the Confederacy. On February 10th, 1940, the cartoon Tom and Jerry debuted. After 27 years in prison, Nelson Mandela was released on February 11th, 1990. On February 13th, 2016, Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia died at age 79. And on February 14th, 1929, Al Capone ordered the murder of 7 gangsters in Chicago. This would go on to be known as the St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Thanks, Greg. And with the 2018 Olympics now underway in South Korea, we thought it might be cool to give you Olympic fun facts. Did you know that gold medals are not made of pure gold? They're actually silver with gold plating. The last time the medals were made of pure gold was 1912. And the Olympic flag represents every country in the world. The rings are meant to represent the 5 continents, and as for the colors, every single flag of every country in the world contains at least one of those colors. And did you know that Muhammad Ali was also terrified of flying? He wore a parachute during his flight to the 1960 Games in Rome. Ali, of course, won the gold that year. Well, good luck to all the athletes, and happy Valentine's Day. Have a great week, Voorhees.
So a number of years ago, I was checking my mail here at Voorhees, and on my way back up to the classroom, I ran into another teacher, an English teacher who I hadn't met. We introduced ourselves, and the next thing I knew, the year after that, I kept running into her, and then we started hanging out, and then eventually I asked her to marry me.
Without stereotyping or generalizing too much, teachers marry teachers. So we worked together. One of our first jobs out of college, we were both teaching in the same school. One thing led to another. And the rest is history. And I think you can ask other folks like Mr. McCoskey, Mr. and Mrs. Reynolds, Mr. Brandt, and others who have married co-workers because they taught at the same school or in the same district and got to know each other, get to see each other interact with kids and see them in a positive light. So that's it, the rest is history.
That's all we got for this episode of Voorhees Now. I'm Joe Lebida.
And I'm Con Greco, wishing you
Happy
Valentine's Day. Oh God, Patrick!
I met my wife 25 years ago working at North Hunterdon. She was a special ed teacher and doing a play about Sherlock Holmes, and I was teaching art. And somehow she talked me into making the sets for this play, and it was all downhill from there.
We met our freshman year of college, and we've been married for 17 years, so I guess we're kind of stuck. 2 kids later, a house, we're here to stay.
When she started working at North Hunterdon, I was already working at Voorhees, and we went out on a date, and the rest is history. We fell in love, got married, and have a beautiful little girl.